This is another archival upload of my previous mix critique videos. Again, I apologize for the vertical format that this video is about to switch to. This is numbers 11 through 15. Time for another mix critique. This one was sent in by John. Let's check it out. You know I'm a sucker for a good bass line, don't you, John? Alright, when it gets to where everything actually comes in, that whole like sweep, there was a huge energy build and it felt like it needed to explode right there. The intensity of that sweep up did not at all match what it went into. I mean, overall, tones are pretty solid. I wish there was a little more reverb on the drums because it feels like it's not quite extending long enough given the amount of space there is between the drum hits. Alright, John, that was a pretty cool track, but I'm hearing like a really unique problem here. All the source tones sound great, they really do. Like, your basic tones are solid, but the whole mix just doesn't have the energy that it sounds like it could have. And really, I think this is probably partially that there's not enough of that sub information. You're not really getting like the impacts that need to be there to add that little bit of extra energy. But honestly, I think this is going to be more of a production thing than a mix thing. The overall mix is pretty good. It's just, you just don't have enough layers of certain things to get a fuller sound. And especially with like a pretty bare bones track like this, like you need to add more texture, more layers of like slightly different sounds playing the same part just to fill it out and make everything just sound bigger overall. If you'd like to get your mix critiqued, fill out the form on my page. Time for another mix critique. This one was sent in by Joey. Let's check it out. So in the intro, I was thinking there was a little too much high mids, like that 4 to like 5.5K range was just really overpowering. But then it got into that like slightly mellower section and like a lot of the lows came through more. And that definitely evened out the sound a lot. So maybe see what's going on there. Maybe add some lows into that intro section so that it's not like so harsh in the high end there. The other thing I'm hearing is your kick doesn't seem to have a lot of low end frequency information. It's like all high end attack. Like I really need that punch in the gut from the low end of the kick drum that's completely missing from this track. Like guitar might be more like 3K. It's just like that really painful high end frequency. There's so much of it and you're just missing so much of the subs. Like everything below 100 hertz needs to come up a lot in this track. So overall, Joey, not a bad mix. I think really the biggest problems are there's way too much high end and not a lot of low end. So I would boost everything below 100 hertz like a tiny bit, and I would cut everything above like 1K, just like a massive shelf, pull that way down. And if you'd like to get your mix critiqued, fill out the form on my page. I'm back with another mix critique. This one was sent in by JB. Let's check it out.
I feel like a misfit.
So far the tones are pretty good overall. I really like the guitar tone. Bass tone's all right, but I don't like the snare tone. I don't know, it just feels kind of weak to me. It sounds like the drummer wasn't hitting it quite hard enough. It's not really getting enough energy out of it. It just seems like it's tuned really high. It doesn't really seem like it fits the track. I would have that tuned a little bit lower for this track in particular. Also, we're getting like a lot of space on the snare. It sounds like we're hearing it more in like the overheads than we are on the close snare mic. I would really like to hear the close snare mic mixed a little louder. That would probably help a lot with what I'm hearing in this instance. It also sounds like your kick is fighting your bass guitar a lot. You got to go in there and kind of sculpt space in the low end for each of them. What I usually do in this situation is I'll boost like 2 dB of 60 hertz in the kick and cut 2 dB of 120 hertz in the kick. And on the bass, I'll do the opposite. I'll cut 60 hertz and I'll boost 120 hertz.
I'm just a misfit.
So overall, that was a cool track. The guitar tones were good, the bass tones were good. The biggest problem I was hearing was that the drums aren't cutting through enough. They need to be mixed a little louder. They need to be a little sharper attack on all of them so that we can actually hear them well. But yeah, not bad. Definitely keep it up. And remember, if you'd like to get your mix critiqued, fill out the form on my page. Time for another mix critique. This one was sent in by Nathan. Let's check it out. All right, those drums sound great. Those toms in the intro, awesome. Mixed a little too loud though. Bring the drums down a tiny bit. They're overpowering everything else.
You looked at me and it was over, baby. I never stood a chance.
Dude has an amazing voice that sounds so good. Tonally, everything sounds great. The mix overall is also pretty good, but the vocals are so far over the top of everything that it feels kind of empty in the background. Like, yeah, we hear the core instruments, they sound great, but you need something else, just something in the background in the high end to fill out that section of the frequency spectrum. I think a big thing that I'm also hearing that's throwing me off is I'm not hearing enough like subs from the bass guitar. Like I can hear it really well in the mid-range, but I really need some more low end from that because that'll flesh out the overall sound a lot. The track feels empty. It kind of sounds like everything is a piece of a different song that just kind of got thrown together. Like it all needs to gel better. It needs something to glue everything together. Honestly, making everything glue better could be as simple as just messing with your mix bus compression. Just make everything sound like it belongs together. So not bad, Nathan. Tonally, everything sounds fine on its own, but it doesn't sound like everything's melding together. So that, I think, would be the biggest thing you need to work on. If you'd like to get your mix critiqued, fill out the form on my page. I missed a couple days, so 4 mix critiques in 4 days. Let's go. This one was sent in by Nico. Alright, everything sounded really good in the intro, maybe a little thin. It sounds like you don't have a lot of low end in a lot of things, but overall it sounded alright. The vocals sound pretty good, but they're a little high over the top of everything else. It's gotta be mixed a little lower. So Nico, that was a pretty good track overall. Like, all your source tones seemed like they sounded good, but it sounds like you thinned a lot of things out. I noticed that you asked for some advice on how to deal with the mud you're hearing, but honestly, I'm really not hearing any mud, and I think it's because you cut out a lot of the low end in an attempt to combat that mud, but you ended up cutting out way too much. Like, I'm really hearing very little in like the 100 to 400 hertz range. There's a lot of high end, so you just gotta work on sculpting your low end more surgically. It sounds like you're making a lot of big cuts in the low end. You really got to go in with a more narrow bandwidth on the EQ and find the couple of smaller frequency sections in each instrument that sound muddy and take those out rather than thinking, oh, there's too much mud, I'm just going to scoop this whole section in whatever instruments you're taking it out from.